If I'm not mistaken, Sparkle should be the next character, having her rerun alongside Jiaoqiu, or Jiaoqiou is what I call him, but yeah, Jack for short. Anyhow, basically, you guys as new players, or even a little bit of a more seasoned player, you started in 2.0 and you've caught up to the game by this point, you're probably wondering whether or not you should grab Sparkle, Sparkle's one of the characters that I think a lot of people really gassed up. They gaslit you, if you will, but they mostly gassed up Sparkle into being this amazing harmony unit.
Very SP positive unit for SP 100 teams, and she was super universal. She was going to work on every single team. She's going to be better than Bronya, better than Robin, better than Meg.
And a bunch of other crap that is probably not true, especially to this day, but we'll get into that. And then, of course, you have Jiaoqiu. Jiaoqiu is going to be the new character coming out, the Fire Nihility character that is being proclaimed as only for Acheron. And if you have Acheron, he's going to be the new best in slot for her. If you don't have Acheron, easy skip. Don't worry about it. Don't think about it. Fei Xiao's coming after that. And I think, well, one, Fei Xiao is coming after that, and I would definitely tell you to grab her. But two, he might actually benefit Fei Xiao. Let's talk about it. Starting things off, I want to go over what we could have with Jiaoqiu. Jiaoqiu is one of the characters that, again, I feel he is not so much glued to Acheron, but instead he's a bit more niche when it comes to how you want to build your teams. And that doesn't necessarily mean that he's only working on one team or two teams. I really just think it comes down to, as I mentioned before, what are you building? One of the key things that I always talk about when it comes to Honkai Star Rail, especially because it's a turn-based RPG, is that A, you don't have all the resources in the world to build a bunch of teams or a bunch of characters, which is why I'm a very strong believer in vertical investment versus horizontal investment in this game in particular. And then two, you have a number of teams that you could build that are at this point meta, and you have a multitude of teams that could be considered top 5. I'll work on that video in a little bit, and then I'll release that later on, probably next week. So a roundabout in my head when it comes to, like, let's just throw out a top 5 number. Yeah, top 5 could be your Acheron team, which we'll call that literally just the Acheron team. It's another form of hypercarry, but it doesn't have to be, because Acheron is not hypercarry, and that is still one of the most strong teams one of the strongest teams in the game today. That's what I meant to say. All right. You then have the Boot Hill or the Firefly, which is going to be your break-oriented teams, which is very strong. In fact, probably top 3. You also have something creeping up now, which could be considered Yunli. Yunli is a counter team, and I know that it could look like a hyper carry because you're really using Yunli as like the DPS character. But when you look at the archetype of the team, it's not hyper carry. It's more so just a counter attack or a full counter type of team if you're in a 7 Deadly Sins. And then, of course, we still have things like Dill Pickle, Jingliu, Zila, whatever it is that you're going for. Without getting too biased into a lot of the things that I consider to be top teams, let's go ahead and talk about what Jiaoqiu will bring to the table as far as who he's going to benefit and what teams he's going to benefit. Off the bat, you're looking at the potential teams of, again, Acheron and Jiaoqiu. He's going to be the best in slot for her, allegedly. You're going to have Kafka Swan, which could definitely benefit from Jiaoqiu, not only because of the fire dot he's bringing with the burn, but because of the vulnerability, which I think, to mention that, vulnerability is a big part of what makes this character so strong. Normally you have defense shred. Defense shred is something that Silver and Pela have, and that's going to reduce your defenses. So defense shred, meaning if you had 100 as a number for your defense, I shredded you down to 40 or minus 40. That means your defense is now 60, and whatever I'm doing to you is only going to be affected by 60% of your defense. What's happening with vulnerability, if I can explain this in a very easy, simple manner without using a bunch of math, vulnerability is basically multiplying the damage that you would take and ignoring it at the same time. I know that sounds really weird, and the ignoring part is probably something that I'm messing up, so I apologize if I'm fucking around with your brain right there. But I'm trying to explain this in a really easy way to separate the difference between why vulnerability is stronger than defense shred. Vulnerability basically has more damage applied to it, or rather damage allowed through if there was a door, right? Defense shred allows the exact number. Vulnerability allows more than that number. And so now with Jiaoqiu having his ultimate, if I'm not mistaken, and the Ashen Roast both being able to increase the damage received by the enemy, if I'm not mistaken, that number, once you max him out to 8 to 10 talent, something like that, that number total should be around 50%. He's also able to have a 3-turn rotation with his ultimate, which is very easy to do. And having Ashen Roast maxed out, which are the stacks that he has, is pretty much permanent. If you play the characters skill, basic, however you want to do it, he's pretty much going to have permanent uptime on all of his stacks, which is really big. Now, me personally, I think his playstyle is very boring, and that's probably one of the reasons why I'm not as excited about him, even though I like his design a lot. But I think him as a character, what he brings to the table, his kit, benefits the characters that I enjoy playing the most, at least right now. those two being Acheron and Yunli, and to a certain degree, even Zila for that matter, because she loves things like this, with her ultimate being one of the strongest attacks in the game. And if you have Argenti works out in your favor too. At some point, we could think about Dr. Ratio in Jiaoqiu because of the debuffs that he's going to bring to the table, as well as the ultimate benefit. But I haven't fully tested it. So if anybody wants to just let me know in the comments down below or correct that, because it's honestly an honest mistake. I don't know whether or not Dr. Ratio's follow-up attacks during his ultimate, which is the Wise Man's Folly, if that counts as ultimate damage and it's separate from his actual follow-up attack damage. If that's the case, Jiaoqiu is going to benefit that greatly, because now you're going to be able to take advantage of that, plus having Topaz on the team. And in short, what I'm explaining here is that Jiaoqiu is going to work as and I say this a lot with the Nihility characters, they basically work as the opposite of Harmony. So instead of buffing the character or DPS character directly, you're actually going to be removing the damage or the damage multipliers, the defense multipliers, adding vulnerability. You're affecting the enemies instead of buffing your DPS directly. And I think that's a pretty big thing, especially when we get into what we have now, which is basically what we have. Robin, that's a big thing there. And I'm only going to mention Robin. I guess we can mention Mei too. Two prominent, or the most prominent Harmony units in the game, benefit the entire team. They buff the entire team. They have crazy buffs, and Robin advances everybody forward. So not only would that be beneficial to a character or a team like Acheron, or not Acheron, but Kafka Swan, so Black Widow, where now you can put Jiaoqiu on the team and Robin, or you could take Robin off the team and put Jiaoqiu on the team, because a lot of you won't have all of the characters and access to these characters the same way that us creators do, or even some of the whales or dolphins, whatever. Most of you are going to be free to play or light spenders, so your team options are very limited. It's important for you to look at who benefits what and how many of this can you put on the team. Not how many characters, obviously, because you can't have more than one character, but how many of a Nihility, how many of a Harmony. I know that hypercarry is something that's always pushed around. Hypercarry this, hypercarry that, just build hypercarry. Your supports are super easy to build. Just build Ting Yun, just build Pela, just build Yukong, call it a day. No one tells you to build Yukong, but she is pretty good. Anyhow, point being is that a lot of people always tell you that, and they don't really explain why, or they don't really adjust to benefit now in today's game and age. We're not playing the same Honkai Star Rail that we were playing a year ago. Hypercarry is strong, but hypercarry takes so much investment at this point that I do not believe it is the easy, noob, and free-to-play friendly version of a team that most players should be building. In fact, I think you should be building a more specialized team. So specialized being, if you were looking at Firefly, Bruon Mei, Firefly, Harmony MC, and then Gallagher, that would have been a very powerful team that will last you a good time and allow you to essentially 3-cycle everything in the game and take care of Pure Fiction as well as Apocalyptic Shadow. If you're super into Zila, who is hypercarry, that is a lot more hyper investment. Now you're going to need a lot more to add into her kit, but it's worth it because Zila is one of, if not the only DPS from 1.0 that is still standing strong, and she's still 0-cycling most, if not every single MOC to this day. I can't say the same thing for a lot of the other DPS characters. Most recently released and currently still on the banner is going to be Yunli. Yunli is a specialized team, or building a specialized team around Yunli as well, due to the fact that she's focused on countering. So you could do something with links where if you don't want to get Yunli's signature light cone, now you can add links to kind of make up for that. And links was free. I think she still is free. So you can have a free unit, links, Yunli with links, which is the free unit, some type of buffer, Ting Yun. Most of us have Ting Yun by this point, but if you don't, I understand. It's been a long time since she's been on a banner. And then maybe you got Bronya, right? Or you do have Sparkle, or you have Robin, or you have Mei, whatever the case may be. Yunli actually benefits from not needing to advance forward, so you can just get away with not having that. And now you have Jiaoqiu. Jiaoqiu is going to help her out significantly, and the fact that you don't have to worry about speeding up the game, Yunli just gets hit. She's eventually going to take everything out on her own, and without action advance forwards, I'm still able to get my 3 cycles just fine. Then lastly, you have the whole Kafka Swan thing. So a lot of what you're looking at with Jiaoqiu is, how do you fit this debuffer on the team? What does he benefit for you, or rather what benefits does he bring for you in your account? And how much longevity will you get out of this character? The reason I'm saying this is because if you were to go out of your way to pull Jiaoqiu, and then hypothetically Fei Xiao comes out and she's the most busted thing in the world, and she is now the third, I think, quote unquote, prime DPS character, like top tier broken character, because right now we're looking at Acheron and then Firefly. Let's just say Fei Xiao comes out and she's number 3, right? She's like the new broken DPS character. Well, now you need to be looking at how would you build her and whether or not you have the others. So if you grabbed Acheron but you skipped Firefly, Well, now you look at Fei Xiao, and if you were going to pick up Jiaoqiu, now Jiaoqiu could actually work on both teams from what I'm gathering so far, and you would be able to diversify who goes on what. Instead of just only having one team built, you can grab one character that fits both teams, and now you can play around with who goes where, when they go where, anything like that. Let's say that you grab Firefly, but you didn't grab Acheron and you want Fei Xiao. Well, now you're in a little bit more of a sticky situation where you could get Jiaoqiu, and that would benefit your coming Fei Xiao, or you could wait, grab Fei Xiao, and hope that a 4-star character is going to benefit her a little bit more, or maybe we get another Topaz rerun, anything like that, right? So there's a couple different things that you have to consider when you're looking at the character. But I know a lot of the stuff, as I mentioned before, has been very much like hyper carry this, hyper carry that. Sparkle is the best thing since sliced bread. So we're going to talk about Sparkle now.
What's your wager? The life of a faker.
I think Sparkle, and I've thought this for a long time, I've said this way back when, Sparkle might be one of the easiest free-to-play traps in the game. I say free-to-play because as a spender, I can buy my way out of a problem, if that makes sense. If I pulled Sparkle and I'm like, damn, this character's ass, I could easily grab the next character on the next banner or the next Harmony unit that comes out whenever they come out and not be affected by my poor decision in picking up Sparkle. A low spender or a free-to-play player, they don't have that option. They are kind of stuck. So hypothetically, if you grab Sparkle and you're like, bro, I hate this character. This character's not good. She's not benefiting me. She's not stronger than my Bronya. My Bronya's E2 S1. You know, why did I pull Sparkle? I should have got Mei, or I should have got Robin. I should have saved up for Firefly, whatever. Those are the type of decisions and feelings that a lot of the free-to-play have. And I'm saying this as someone who has been playing free-to-play for a little bit. Not so much in my Star Rail account, but more so in the other games. I have a Zenless that's free to play, and then I recently restarted Genshin, and I've been like free to play in that. It's been very fun, but I can see the challenge already. So I'm speaking more from a grounded perspective on this. And so when I say like something about Sparkle and someone's asking me, should I get Sparkle? Should I get this? Should I get that? Looking at Sparkle, Sparkle is in my head, she's E2 or bust. And that's a crazy thing to say, right? That's not to say that Sparkle won't benefit you, but the benefit that Sparkle brings today is still, in my opinion, very specialized. And it's specialized in a way that like you could grab a much more universal Harmony unit, or you could just get Bronya for free. You could also save your pulls, I forget what they're called, but the little ticket things in the game. You could save the ticket things in the game, and then you could just get Bronya's light cone with your Bronya, right? Or you could have, let's say you restarted, or you not restarted, but you started out and you got Bronya as your first 5-star character, or on the standard banner, because it's more likely that you would get a Bronya from there. You got a Bronya. At some point, you got Bronya. Maybe you got 2 Bronyas. That's going to significantly benefit you more than you going out of your way to pull for Sparkle. The reason I say that is because now you have to speed tune Sparkle in order to benefit your team. And speed tuning Bronya exists as well, but because Bronya has the 100% advance forward, you never have to think about whether or not they're going to get dragged up or down or whatever. And they actually play very similarly. I've been using the win set for Sparkle for me personally, because I use her with my Zila. But win set allows me to pretty much get with Sparkle 3 turns, if I'm not mistaken, on the first turn. Sometimes 4 if I'm like really fast, but I'm not really fast. So I can't really do that consistently unless I'm on the server. But with Zila being able to manipulate her own turn order or action order and her speed, it becomes a little bit more intricate on how you play that team. And it turns Zila, who was on her own getting about, I don't know, 4 to 5 actions per cycle. With Sparkle, the win set, I'm now able to get anywhere between 8 to 10 actions per cycle, including the ult, including if I get resurgence or not, things like that. Yeah. So for me, as someone who really likes playing Zila, that benefits me. Sparkle benefits me in that regard, but I have an E4 Zila or something like that. I know you guys are gonna say, well, but I promise it was an accident. I was trying to lose the 50-50 for more characters in the beginning of the game. But anyhow, my point being with that is that I benefit more from Bronya actually than I do from Sparkle on the team, because Bronya shoots me up immediately, regardless of what it is, which means no matter where my Zila is and how many actions my Zila took, she's always gonna get those 3 extra actions, given what Bronya is going to be able to give her. And then they have relatively the same buffs, right? I don't really care too much about all the extra quantum damage because I'm going to kill something anyway. I don't really care about all the extra crit damage because Bronya is going to give it to me anyway. And I do like the attack damage or the attack % boost that Bronya gives a lot. So there's just a few things here or there that you can make in with that. As far as other teams, Sparkle and Jiaoqiou is, I think, something that people were really like gassing up. They're like, oh yeah, man, Jiaoqiou loves Sparkle. I'm gonna keep it a buck. I don't think Jiaoqiou cares enough which harmony she gets. I think she just wants a harmony unit, period. I don't think a character like Jing Yuan cares as much, although he very he loves Sparkle, don't get me wrong. But you could also get that benefit from Robin and Mei as well. Maybe not so much Mei with the action advance forward, but you do get the damage boost, you get the break, all that kind of stuff. And right now, Jing Yuan, the super break Jing Yuan is, I believe, the new best set. I could be wrong on that. I haven't kept up too much with the Jing Yuan stuff going on, so you guys can let me know. But ultimately, a lot of what Sparkle's bringing to the table is something that you could have gotten and more from another harmony unit at E0, S0, or even E0, S1. And the things that I'm mentioning definitely fall into play with Ruan Mei, who has a free-to-play light cone option and is perfectly fine at E0, and as a lot of you have seen, versus not only myself, because I've been talking about Mei since before she came out, but now you're starting to see a lot more creators and players come out and say, dang, if your account doesn't have Mei, it's just a bust. Like, GG's, bro, pack it up. I don't agree with that entirely, but I do believe that Mei has so much value that you can't go wrong. Until they make a new Mei, like 2 new Meis at that, they would have to make a new Mei to replace the old Mei, and then they would have to make a new Mei to replace the old Mei, and then that's when Mei would be outdated. Until they do that, which we cannot see them do that in the near future, Mei will forever be here. So having a Ruan Mei on your account over a Sparkle or a Robin or a Bronya, absolutely going to benefit you in more ways than one. That doesn't mean that you only want Mei on your account though, right? Having a Robin and a Mei on your account, well, you're set. Those are the 2 best harmony units in the game, and at some points, Robin is better than Mei. So when I look at what's happening with the rerun here, Sparkle versus Jiaoqiou, if you weren't gonna grab Jiaoqiou and for whatever reason you need another harmony unit, I honestly would just tell you to skip both. That would be my roundabout. I would say skip Sparkle and wait for another Robin rerun, or wait for a Mei rerun, and possibly use the Bronya that you may or may not have. I don't think harmony units are so desperately needed right now that you can't clear the content that you would need to clear, especially given the fact that we do have more specialized teams and we have more bulkier teams. That's something else to really pay attention to, right? Hypercarry is normally pretty squishy, which is why the harmony units are beneficial to them, because it allows them to go before the enemy so that they take less damage or no damage at all. But when you have characters like Yunli, who pretty much work on her own, she heals herself and she does a crap ton of damage. You have Clara, which is like the baby girl version of Yunli, right? The mini version. She doesn't do as much damage, but she also has means to heal herself through her light clone, if I'm not mistaken. She likes the counter play style. She's actually the originator of the counter play style in Star Rail, and she has AoE. She hits everybody on the field. So it's going to slowly clear everything to the point where you're good. You don't have to worry or stress about getting a low cycle cleared, because she's going to take care of that for you. Firefly is a bulky character that heals herself and takes her own damage, but for the most part, it's just a self-sustain. Currently, we just have better versions of Blade, and that's a good and bad thing. Bad for Blade, great for everyone else. But that's gonna do it for me today, guys. I'm gonna wrap it up with all that information. Hopefully, I gave you guys a little bit more insight on what I'm talking about. I like to talk, if that wasn't clear, but I really like to talk about the characters and how I feel they may or may not benefit you, because something that I notice when it comes to explaining that, especially when I'm on stream and you guys will ask me like, yo, what's this? Should I pull this? Or is this good for this? Blah, blah, blah. It's a little bit more difficult for me to answer that question if I don't know what's on your account. And that's oftentimes when you guys do ask me that question, I always follow up with like, what do you have? What's on your account? What's your DPS? What team are you going for? Because it's way easier for me to answer something more universally if you're asking for a universal character. Yo, should I pick up Acheron? Hell yeah. Should I pick up Fei Xiao? Fuck yeah. Should I pick up Firefly? Debatable. Do you like break? Yes or no, right? That's a nuanced question. If you don't like the break playstyle, don't pick up a break character. Yo, should I grab Kafka Swan? Everyone keeps talking about Kafka Swan. Do you like DOT? You don't like damage over time playstyles, don't pick up Kafka Swan. It never matters how strong something is. If you hate the playstyle for it, don't pick it up. The reason that Acheron and Fei Xiao are a little different, even though I have met some Acheron haters, the playstyle is a little different because it's just straight damage, right? Like, you're not really tinkering how you play with the character per se. You're tinkering how you build the team and then go from there. In Fei Xiao's case, from what I'm understanding, I believe she's going to be follow-up or something like that. I'm not too sure. But Fei Xiao having the whatever she's going to have, that tells me I want to try and build a follow-up team or a team centered around follow-up. And for me, follow-ups benefit way more when they have other follow-up units on the team and not hyper carry. But again, that's a me thing, and just how I play the game. I like to read into the kits and take full advantage of a character's kit. So Jiaoqiou, I want to take full advantage of that character's kit. How does he benefit the team? Sparkle, I want to take full advantage of this character's kit. How does she benefit the team? And in most cases, it's going to be teams that are very SP hungry. So like your Dill Pickle, that's really it, right? Like Zila, I guess, but Zila's not SP hungry when you learn how to play her. She feeds herself. Dill Pickle can't feed himself, but from what we saw, at least I've called it out. I think you guys might have seen this on Pride Win by now, but they've bumped down a tier, right? Jingliu and Dill Pickle are no longer in tier 0.5, I think is what it was. They're now like tier 1 or 1.5, something like that. So they've gotten bumped down. But yeah, we might go over the tier list. I saw a couple different changes. I heard it was like some really wild changes, but we'll get it. Anyway, I can't say my usual outro because it's inappropriate for YouTube. It is like 5 or 6 a.m. Why am I up this early? I'm going back to bed, and then I'm gonna wake up, and then I'm gonna go play Genshin. Smell you later.